the Cardinals, or it is going to be a super miserable Super Bowl for me. All right, well, let's get in a quickie NFL news. The Buffalo Bills hired the first full-time female. Does that mean she's female full-time? Well, I should hope she's female full-time and not just part-time. First female full-time coach. That order sounds much better. In NFL history, I do not know her name. However, she is going to be the special teams quality control coach for the Buffalo Bills. What the heck? Somebody just explain to me what the heck a special teams quality control coach is. How many units of our squad have a quality control coach? Like, do we have an offensive line quality control coach? Do we have a defensive back quality control coach? Do we have a defensive quality control coach or an offensive quality control coach? How many quality control coaches do we have? Are there in the league? And what exactly does that job entail? Because I'd sure like to apply. I would be great at any quality control for my Minnesota Vikings. I promise you, nobody would work harder at it, would care more, or be better at it. So let's look into that more. Somebody get me the goods on quality control coaching vacancies in the NFL, what that entails and how one goes about becoming one. But anyway, congratulations to her, the Buffalo Bills, and the NFL. Any equality, equal rights, progress is A-OK in my book. Well, let's get to our last meaty topic of the show, and then we'll do a couple quickies and balls deep thought of the day. This is for my Vikings fans. Thanks for sticking around and listening, both to this show and all year. I hope that my analysis, opinion, input, what have you, on the Vikings players, the Vikings team, the Vikings coaching staff, the Vikings front office in the season have been of entertainment or of enlightenment, or ideally of both to you throughout the season. I took it upon myself to review the 11 regular season games and one postseason game that I completed film reviews for the entire Vikings squad on. I retallied all of those for individual players, got an average and stuff like that, got an idea of, what their entire season looked like from my film grading standpoint. And then I also compared that to their statistics and what we remember about their season. And based off of those, three primary elements, I arrived at what I believe to be the most appropriate letter grade one can give their seasons as individuals. A lot of people do stuff like this, and I felt like it was definitely, upon me to, get it right for everyone. To be humble. But anyway, where should we start? I mean, do we save the best stuff for last? Probably. No, I don't know. We should probably start out with the good stuff since we're past 2 hours now. This is kind of where I wanted to end it, and we're still going. So let's start it out with the good, most interesting stuff everyone wants to know about. Teddy, AP, the offensive line. We'll start on the offensive side of the ball. So, of course, knowing me, what I love most about football, what I know most about football, we're starting offensive line, baby. Well, because, to an extent, that's been one of the most talked about topics on the Vikings team this year here in Minnesota. And it's, one of our consensus areas of need for some improvement. So what improvement do we need there? How did the guys we had do? Well, we lost two of guys that were supposed to start on this team heading into it. Right tackle Phil Lodeholt, who everybody remembers as being way better than what he really is. Like, do people not remember watching this guy play? That's why we drafted TJ Clemmings, was to replace Phil Lodeholt. Phil Lodeholt has stunk at many points in his Vikings career. And Lodeholt, we got to get rid of Lodeholt. We need someone other than Lodeholt. But once or twice he'll do really good, and then he gets a new big fat contract. But so he was out, and then All-Pro center John Sullivan was out as well, and that was what I thought. Like, just knowing what he brings, it's like, man, he brings a lot. But Joe Berger played in his place, and I've only got to grade 5 linemen because they're the only NFL team all season to have all 5 linemen start all 16 games. So that was fantastic. At least the cohesiveness that they were able to kind of develop, at least in patches over the season. But so I started with Joe Berger. He was by far, in replacement of John Sullivan, he was by far the best offensive lineman this year, and a top 5, maybe top 2 or 3 even, at his position in the entire league. Without question, top 5. Without question. My grade on him was an A-. That's right. Our backup center, who played all year for us, was an A-. That's about exactly what Sullivan would have got. Maybe better. Who knows? But so you can't use the injuries to our O-line as an excuse for why our O-line wasn't good at times this year. Don't do that, Minnesotans, okay? Moving on to the next offensive lineman, and much to my surprise, if you listened to me at the beginning of the year, right guard Mike Harris finished the season with a B-. I mean, I could have went with a C+. I could have went with a B even, honestly. But so I settled on the B-. He started out pretty rough. Not contributing in the run blocking game very much first 4 weeks of the season, and being a total liability in the pass blocking game for about the first 7 or 8 weeks of the season. But the second half of the season, Mike Harris was our second best lineman almost every single game, along with Joe Berger. Those two really, really clicked together at center and right guard. And Harris ultimately elevated his overall grade on the season to a B-. A young man moving from tackle, which he didn't show much ability at, to guard. We can keep this guy for fairly affordable, and we've got a good young starting right guard that has the potential to be really, really good, possibly. And then moving on, each of our tackles, Matt Khalil at left tackle and rookie TJ Clemmings at right tackle, they both ended up getting a C+ from me. Now, I could have went lower on both of them. I could have given a C or a C- to both of them. One could maybe argue a B- for either of them, but I felt that C+ was about right, because the overall success running the ball and winning games the way they did, and so many of the sacks being on Teddy and not on the offensive line. I felt that both Khalil and Clem got a way worse rap than what they deserved. That being said, they both definitely had their moments throughout, various games in the season where they were just flat out getting beat and didn't look, weren't playing all that good at the time, but that wasn't their entire seasons. Clemmings coming in as a rookie, next to a guy who's basically a rookie now, at least at this position, and with little to no help whatsoever. The foot injury that dropped him to round 4 where we could get him, being able to come back from that. He honestly did not get burnt all that much. Pass blocking is definitely the main thing he needs to work on if he's going to play right tackle moving forward. I wouldn't mind moving him to left guard in replace of Fusco, to be quite honest with you, and just get a different right tackle. Maybe have Lodeholt come back, or I would prefer to get someone new entirely. But I felt, based off of the realistic expectations for Clem should have been, that C plus is fairly accurate for his performance throughout the year. And same with Khalil. Khalil was coming off of a poor year, like a D type of year, where you stink one more season and you're out of here as our franchise left tackle. He was able to play well enough this year where there is no more question, at least, not too much, I don't think any really within the organization, maybe a little within fans. But not within the organization, that he's still our franchise left tackle, at least for right now, and the next season that he did, he's re-established that as his job, and you don't need to get a new left tackle. You can, address other areas of need. So because of that, I give him a C+, although the second half of the season, Khalil looked much worse than he did the first half of the season. I would not be surprised to find out if Khalil was playing a majority of the second half of the year with an injury that was undisclosed. Do not be surprised if and when that comes out, I'm telling you right now. But so they both got C+, and then that leaves us with our final offensive lineman. And ladies and gentlemen, when you're teaching your children the alphabet at home, if you have young children who are at that age of learning the alphabet, you can let them know that F is for Fusco. Not just in spelling, but in performance grading as well. Brandon Fusco, starting left guard for the Minnesota Vikings, I want to say there was like 1 or 2 games of the 12 that I graded that he was not the worst offensive lineman on the team. I don't know that he had a single game where he wasn't, in the negative for an overall grade. Every time I'm watching film, every time there is, sack or someone gets beat or it's just the play's blown up or, any time that the play doesn't work and it's the offensive line's fault or partly their fault, you want to know which one it was Fusco. Like, you don't even need to look. I can just tell you and guarantee you it was Fusco, because I watched all the freaking plays. And I am a former left guard and center, so I understand the position responsibilities fairly well. And Berger, just, man, to do what he did, handcuffed next to that moron all year, is even more remarkable. I should almost put Berger, you know what, yeah, let's put Berger goes up to an A. Berger's just a flat-out A, because of Fusco's flat-out F. If Fusco would get an F minus if we had one. He was that freaking bad. So if you want to know what the Vikings need to do for their offensive line next year, they need to get a new left guard. That's about it. And they might even already have that guy, and his name's TJ Clemmings or Mike Harris. But I would leave Mike Harris where he's at the right guard position. If Loadholt, if they want to keep Loadholt and pay him what they're set to pay him and think he can contribute and be the starting right tackle like he allegedly was supposed to be, then why not put him at right tackle, keep Mike Harris at right guard. You've got I don't count on Sullivan coming back at all. If Sullivan comes back, then Berger could be a guard option as well. But then put TJ Clemmings in between Berger and Khalil on the left side at left guard. And I think Clemmings and Harris would be a nice guard combo, because the original plan at the beginning of the season was that TJ Clemmings was going to start at right guard. He was a tackle in college. He was going to become a guard in the NFL and start at right guard for us. That was the original plan. But when Loadholt went out at right tackle, he had to become the starting right tackle then. So let's get back to that original plan. If we think it's better suited for his skills, put him at guard, and then let's either throw Loadholt back in, or like I said, we either need a left guard or we need to move Clemmings to guard and keep Harris as well. Get rid of Fusco, and then find a new right tackle. Those are our offensive line needs. All right, moving on quickly with the grades. Cordero Patterson had an F as a wide receiver, an A minus as a return man. Just a few penalties, issue with some decision making and fumbling here and there dropped him from an A to an A minus. Charles Johnson, a big fat F at wide receiver as well. Adam Thielen getting a B over a